So we'll get this started. We're just going to do a few introductions before we start. My name is Jason. I'm Head of Customer Experience at Arlo Software. I've been with Arlo for just a little over 6.5 years, and I'm super fortunate to have the privilege to work with people like Peggy, who are making a huge difference in the training space. I personally have a passion for working with training organizations, helping to solve their business problems through technology. Just a little bit about Arlo and what we do. Arlo makes software for instructor-led training providers. We've been around for over 16 years. We have a deep understanding of the challenges that training providers face. We were built by trainers for training organizations, and we help training businesses scale and sell more training. We have customers all around the world, and we have offices in North America, in UK, and in New Zealand. Some of the key metrics that you can see over there, these are metrics from our customers, where our customers have over 375,000 courses scheduled. They have trained over 7.5 million people. When we think of automation and the coordination that goes with training, automated emails, there's over 100 million emails have been automated. And looking at the courses that our customers have sold, over $3 billion worth of training, $3 billion worth of training that has been sold by our customers using our platform. Today we're going to be speaking with Peggy Zurkan from WCA, the Winnipeg Construction Association. And thank you so much, Peggy, for making time to speak with us and share valuable insights around how WCA has grown over the years and scaled their training offerings. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Well, thank you, Jason, and thank you, Arlo, for the invitation to join you here today. So I'm Peggy Zurkan. I'm with the Winnipeg Construction Association, or WCA. We are a not-for-profit trade association, and we currently have about 800 member companies. So these would be construction companies that would build in the industrial, commercial, or institutional type projects. So basically everything except for residential. So that would include any company from the large general contractor to the small mom and pop trade contractor type company and everything in between. Our tagline, as you can see on the slide there, is "Together we build Manitoba." So we really have 4 main pillars or functions at the WCA. One would be that we advocate on behalf of our members with all levels of government officials. So we are the voice of the industry. 2, we provide a lot of great networking opportunities. We throw a lot of good parties, chance for people to connect with others in the industry. Another pillar is the opportunity to provide bidding opportunities for our members. So to see what projects are coming down, where they potentially, want to focus and potentially work on. And the 4th and final pillar is we provide education and training for our members, which is where I come in. I manage all things education for the WCA. I've been around for almost 11 years. I was hired to build and grow the education department. Last year, we ran about 150 courses, and that would include both online and in person.
Awesome. Oh, thank you, Peggy. Wonderful to hear about your experience and also the wonderful work that WCA is doing. Just looking at what we'll cover today, we've broken the webinar into 4 sections with a Q&A at the end. There'll also be a chance for a couple of questions right in the middle too. But the things that we'll be looking at how to scale your training by starting with a solid foundation. And this will cover how WCA went from offering 0 training a decade ago to becoming a leading provider of both face-to-face and live online courses today. Next, we'll go to why quality matters, and that's all about creating valuable feedback loops and learning why authentic and industry experienced facilitators are critical to the success of WCA's programs. Then we'll cover the topic of maximizing value, and this is understanding how the right price strategy, member discounts, and strategic partnerships have not only expanded WCA's course offerings, but also driven significant membership growth. And last but not least, we'll cover roadblocks and solutions. And this is just about hearing about the challenges WCA have faced in scaling their training programs, from resource constraints to administrative burdens, and how they overcame them with the right technical solution. So let's jump in. Building a solid foundation, as mentioned, in this section we'll cover how WCA built a solid foundation for education and then went from offering zero training a decade ago to becoming a leading provider of both face-to-face and live online courses today. And looking at a commitment to education, it's just amazing to see the level of training growth you have achieved in a little over a decade. Going from 0 courses to 150 courses plus per year. And we know starting anything new is always difficult. Peggy, can you tell us a little bit about the start of your journey? How did you decide on what to do first?
Sure. Well, it started probably about 14 or so years ago. We were in a small downtown Winnipeg office, and we were really outgrowing the space. So we were looking for a new location, new offices. And Ron Hambley, the CEO president, also had a vision for the association to be the hub of the industry. So a place where our members could meet and gather and find themselves in the classroom taking education and learning as they move along their careers. So it was kind of a build it and they will come. As we looked for this new office space, we landed here just outside of downtown Winnipeg, and we built a really beautiful construction education center. It has a number of classrooms as well as a number of boardrooms for our members. So this vision was supported, of course, by our members. We take our member feedback, very seriously. And together with the vision and the feedback, we landed in this beautiful space. And that's kind of where I came along. I started shortly after we moved in, and we started to grow the education program from there.
Oh, awesome. Just that clarity of vision, listening to your members, staying true to your values. You mentioned on this slide, sorry, next slide, Bianca. You mentioned on this previous slide that training demand was driven by your membership. So there was obviously a demand, your members were asking for it. Mm-hmm. What were some of the key problems that you were trying to solve for your membership?
Well, in Manitoba, we have great universities, great colleges, great trade schools, which offers great technical training, so formal training. But there seemed to be a gap between that formal training and what members needed to know more on a hands-on, just-in-time basis. So we looked at that gap and thought, well, there's an opportunity for us, and we were hearing that from members as well. So we wanted to provide information and training that our members couldn't get anywhere else. So it's something that most of our training attendees are employed. So they're coming during the day. They don't have to take a leave of absence or quit their job to take our education. Is something that they could upskill in their current company, or perhaps get training to get a promotion or whatever it may be. So we really tried to fill that niche market. We're not trying to compete with the universities or college, but provide our members with information they can't get anywhere else. And we really wanted to make sure that our programming was for the entire industry. So whether you're on the construction site or you're in the office or anywhere in between, we wanted to provide a holistic program that would have something for everyone in the industry. And lastly, we looked at making sure this was right for our members. So you can get courses anywhere. You can get a project management course, online, in person, wherever it may be. But we wanted to make sure our project management courses were specific to construction. So, built for our members, the facilitators were familiar with the industry, that relatable. So really wanted to make sure that everything had a construction flavor to it and not just a general topic.
Yeah, it's awesome. It sounds like you really built things around your members and taking into consideration the timing and their needs, and also then mixing that knowledge with the hands-on experience of those that have actually been in the industry and know it intimately. Um, Again, this slide is just about the evolution of your business, like growing from 0 to 150 courses per year. That would have required a lot of testing. You know, there's things that you've never done before that you've got to do and test and see what works and what doesn't, and then basically adapting, you know, to change as you grow. Can you tell us a little bit about how your training has evolved, you know, through the years so that you could stay ahead of the curve?
Sure. So we were started only doing face-to-face training. We had a beautiful space. And back 10, 11 years ago, Zoom really wasn't a thing. So it was all face-to-face, is where we started. We started to look at, you know, the gaps in each of the roles that I talked about earlier. So we do try and service, you know, all the different roles in the industry, but in each of those roles, you know, what was the information that was missing? And we went for the low-hanging fruit, right? What's going to give us the biggest bang for our buck? And that's kind of where we started. So we started with probably 40 or so courses way back when we first started, and went from there. Again, our classes are relatively short. They're anywhere from half day up to 5 days. So people can manage their jobs and still attend our training. We train when there's snow on the ground, and in Winnipeg there's snow on the ground a lot. But really we typically follow the school season, so we offer courses from October through to June. So we're in construction. Summer is busy, very busy, too busy to take education in the most part. But every fall, we would release a hard copy education program. We did this from day one, and it kind of set the tone for the education season to come. So it's a printed piece that lands on the desk of every member, and it gives them the opportunity to see what courses are coming and how they can plan their employees' training and development for the year ahead. So we feel that's kind of the cornerstone piece, and kicks off every education season and really sets the tone and the feeling for the year ahead. So we still continue to do face-to-face training, which we'll talk about a little bit more, and we've slowly over time adopted some online training as well.
It sounds like there's as you were saying, the snow on the ground, perfect time for your new catalog. It sounds like there's a culture between, you know, at WCA and also between your members of that continual learning, upskilling when the opportunity allows it, and kind of fitting that in with their life. And we're looking at a graph now. This is just the graph of the number of courses that you've done over the years. And we can see that there was steady growth, probably trailing off just a little bit of flatlining before COVID. And we also found with a lot of our training providers, our customers, that COVID was a difficult time to navigate. There was just a lot of uncertainty. People were doing a lot of face-to-face and suddenly had to pivot to live online. So it actually impacted the industry as a whole. But then we see it kind of skyrocket after that. So that's quite interesting. I suppose just starting with, how did things change for you during COVID? And then if you could just touch on a little bit about how did things change for you post-COVID?
Sure. Well, you said it best, is, you know, we were progressing for the first 5 or 6 years. And then in 2020, we were only doing face-to-face training. So in a pandemic, face-to-face training did not work well. So we, like other companies and training places, had to adjust. And we quickly, you know, hit the Zoom, tried our best to, you know, maintain the feeling and the engagement online. And you know, we did a decent job pivoting there. And then the following year, we maintained our online training in some ways. And we found ourselves right back in the classroom as soon as the government regulations allowed us to be in the classroom. We were there. So you can see in 2021, we had a significant increase in the number of courses. While we were in the pandemic, we also had the chance, because we were shut down sometimes, construction never stopped. So we had the chance to actually expand and build another classroom, which is another reason you'll see the increase in courses, because we had additional capacity to offer face-to-face training as soon as the pandemic allowed us to get people back in the classroom. The other thing that happened in 2021, so this would be the third thing, is we adopted a new training management system. So we adopted Arlo. We were able to manage the growth behind the scenes, the administration on the website. That helped us a lot be more efficient behind the scenes.
Yeah, it's brilliant to see and to hear how you've been able to adapt, obviously, to the changing circumstances, and also just keep your members at the center of what you do, and also build that capacity in times when there was that availability, just for that clear vision. And it's still, to me, it's incredible that WCA was building classrooms when a lot of other organizations were going remote. Like during COVID, lots were saying, oh, it'll never be the same again. We're not going to be able to do face-to-face training again. What gave you the strong conviction to build another classroom? And how did you know that face-to-face training would endure the test of time?
Mm-hmm. Well, the construction industry is very much a people-focused industry. So people that just happen to build stuff, just like a lot of other sectors. So we really felt that the face-to-face, the in-person training was the best fit for our membership. So like I said, it is a very people-focused. So the relationship building, the connections, those happen when you're face-to-face. Kind of happens online, but when you're face-to-face, it really helps with that relationship piece. Also, construction, there's a lot of hands-on components, and the classroom space allows us to do that hands-on learning, allowed us to do the group work in a really focused environment. And we felt it was just the right environment for our members.
That's awesome. So that personal contact, and I think you've said previously, people, you're working with people, and people get the job done. That's awesome. We've reached almost halfway here, and we have time for a couple of questions. So if any of you have a couple of questions, something that's come to mind that you would like answered, we've got a short time now that we can look at that before proceeding. If not, we will have a time for questions afterwards too. I see Lynn Williams Miller's raised her hand there. Lynn, would you like to? Are you able to ask that question in the chat, and then we can answer that for you? Oh, actually, I'll allow. Oh, there's a good question. How much customization did you do to the Arlo system? And I suppose, Peggy, that's would you like me to answer that question?
Sure.
Yeah. Arlo allows you a lot of flexibility on the front end. So for the you could say the part that your customers are going to see, the website integration. And so you can kind of curate your customer journey for the registrations and the payments and so forth. In terms of the platform and the back end, it already has a whole lot of functionality, which is built in, built out of the box. People will use that functionality. There's different workflows that you can use to achieve your outcomes. So it's not, Arlo doesn't do custom integration of the back end or the functionality. It's very much using what's available. And because there's so much flexibility in the system itself, you can get you can often find, I'm not going to say you can always find, but you can, most of the time, you can find something that'll work for your workflow, something that you can use to achieve your outcomes.
I will add that I'm not a technical person, but using Arlo and all the features, it is very easy and very user-friendly. And if you can't figure it out, the Arlo support team is fabulous.
Awesome. Sorry, I allowed you to talk there, Lynn. Okay, what was the time frame to start to finish to full implementation, and what resources are needed to implement Arlo, and do you also use an LMS? Some good questions there. I suppose on the time frame, Peggy, what was that time frame? I can't remember anymore, to be honest.
Yeah, there's a lot of upfront research. So, trying to determine what the right tool was. And at the same time, that would be your needs analysis. So that took, a good, I don't know, probably 5-6 months just on the research. And then once we, did pick Arlo, it didn't feel like much time at all. I can't tell you the exact time frame, but it seemed to go really quick once we made a decision. It felt like it was just maybe a handful of months before we were up and running.
Yeah, and in general, and I can speak for our customer base, we've had a customer that's gone live in 1 week, but that's an unusual, I would say, unusual set of circumstances. They had a whole project team on their side because remember, the system it's your data, and depending on where you are in your evolution, you may have a lot of data in your system that you want to carry over to Arlo, and so you'll have to take into consideration the imports and so forth. The company that did it in a week, they had a project team to do the imports for them, to be able to get the data in and get things ready for them. Really what you want is you do want someone in your team that can be dedicated to helping get data ready, to get the data into the system. We've got a team on our side as well that will help you with some of the configuration that you need, some of the workflows, that advice consultancy that you need to get the system up and running. But I normally say, look, about 3 months is what you should aim for. You can do it shorter, or it can be longer. It depends on how much time, I would say, you have to dedicate to that implementation, because there's certain things that our team can't do. We'll guide you, we'll help you, but the data is yours and the data quality is yours. And so we can advise you, but we do need someone on your side to do those tasks, because it is your data. For instance, like with a duplicate, which duplicate which contact should remain, which one should be merged, etc. So hopefully that gives you some idea. Awesome. So really, really good questions. And we will have, oh, sorry, there was one more question, which was, do you also use an LMS, Peggy?
No, we do not use an LMS. We primarily do live training, so live online or in person.
Yeah. And Arlo does have that functionality. We've got the, when I say the functionality, we've got an integration with Moodle. Moodle is an LMS, so we have customers that use Moodle. We have customers that use other LMSs, and they use Zapier to connect to that LMS. And we're actually in the process of looking at including something like that within Arlo. So we're currently in that process as well. So awesome questions. Thanks so much for those questions. Please keep them coming through. We will have a time, at the end as well, just to cover off some more questions. So just with such a solid foundation set, we looked at the foundation, we looked at a focus on face-to-face training, a new classroom and a clear vision. Let's discuss now why maintaining quality in training matters and how WCA has implemented valuable feedback loops and why industry experienced facilitators are critical to the success of their programs. Now, Peggy, what does quality member experience look like for WCA? I mean, how do you deliver a quality experience from the moment someone registers online to the minute they walk out the door at the end of the course?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, great question. And I'd say the experience starts even before they register. So when they're looking at the marketing materials, when they're on the website, that's when it starts. That's when the experience starts. So, if the website is easy to use and user friendly, then that's when they register for the course. So, just making sure that the entire process, from the very, very start until they're on the job applying the information, is a good experience, is really important to us. So some of the things we've really focused on, like I said, is the website, making sure it's user friendly, visually appealing. We spend a lot of time and effort. We have a graphic designer and a communications person that really helps with those pieces. Our online registration is a single sign-on, so that when a member logs on, it's one login, and then their information and membership benefits all flows down. As well as we wanted to make sure that there was no guessing, no confusion for our attendees. Where do I go? Is there parking? What time does it start? All those things, we wanted to make sure that there was no frustration there. So we try our best to communicate everything you need to know. And once we have them in the classroom, having that environment that is conducive to learning is really, really important. So, making sure there's hot coffee, and there's always hot coffee, making sure the chair is comfortable and not poking you in the back so you could focus on the learning. It's all really important to that piece. And then probably the number one question I get is what's for lunch? So, keeping them well fed and all these different things contribute to, okay, now they can absorb the learning and have that experience and really take the information that they need to bring back to the job.
Yeah, thank you, Peggy. So quality is the quality of the experience is just so much more than just delivering the content, right? It almost seems like there's a training life cycle or a training experience life cycle from start to finish. And I've speaking with you and us discussing WCA and what it's achieved. I understand you have some awesome facilitators who run your courses. Tell us a little bit about how you choose your facilitators. Like, what do you look for in the selection process of your facilitators?
Yeah, we do have a great lineup of facilitators. We have just over 50 active facilitators for this year. And these are all folks that are in the industry. So these are people that have spent time in the industry, understand the industry, can really connect with the people in the room, the people that are taking the training. So very relatable. So that's a really important piece when we're looking for instructors, is they're not necessarily trained teachers or whatever. They are relatable because they've been in the industry, they walked a mile in your boots, and it can really connect. So that's a really key piece, because really we're trying to provide real practical information to everybody that takes these courses, information that they can take back to the job immediately.
Wow, yeah, that's awesome. So it's really that combining the knowledge with the experience, and that's what makes it great. It's a lovely approach that you're looking for that lived experience, with the knowledge,
Right.
and someone that can impart that. You mentioned just about creating an awesome learning environment, and also just choosing the right facilitators and being agile and flexible in your approach to training. And then you also indicated earlier on just about listening to your members, this slide. What are some of the tools you use to capture that learner feedback? How does this influence like your future course content, delivery methods, or the facilitators you use?
Well, at its simplest format, it's just talking to the members. So since a lot of our training is in person, I have the opportunity to meet them before they walk in the room, go down at the coffee or lunch breaks and see how it's going. So it's an important piece of the feedback loop because it's during the training, it's just in time. So if an adjustment has to be made or something has to be changed, or if it's going well, we can make that change, or kudos to the instructor for how it's going. So just the basic of connecting while the training is happening is a really important way to collect feedback. And then, of course, we do the traditional evaluation forms after the training is over and get good feedback that way if they're a little bit shy to offer it during the day. So we've been doing that over the years. And as well as participating in the industry events. I mentioned that we do a lot of networking type events. We do a lot of divisional meetings. We have a really strong board of directors. Listening to those people, nothing to do with education necessarily, but hearing what's going on, what are their pain points, and maybe we can help address those pain points by offering them some sort of information session or a course.
Thank you. And so that feedback loop is way beyond just the course that you do. Thank you so much. That's so valuable to see how close you are to your members as well, and taking their feedback. Next, we've basically looked at the quality piece now, and now we're going to look at how do we make sure that our courses sell out. And we'll talk to Peggy just to understand how the right pricing strategy, member discounts, and strategic partnerships have not only expanded their course offerings, but also driven significant membership growth. And when starting any business, going to market can be challenging. And pricing is one of those trickier obstacles to navigate. How did you work out your pricing in the sense of like what discounts to apply, and when should they be applied, and what are your price points?
Well, we are, as I said before, are not-for-profit. So we really focused on making our course prices fair and affordable for our members. And we ended up doing a tiered pricing schedule. So we have a price for non-members. So anybody can take our courses for the most part. We do have some exclusive membership ones, but for the most part, anybody can attend our courses. However, if you're a WCA member, you would receive a 25% discount. And that's flat across the board, 25% off the posted price. And that's really helped us not only, give our members a bit of a price break, but the non-members can do the math, and if they take a handful of courses, in some cases that pays for their membership right there. So it ended up driving up our membership numbers a little bit. As they joined for the education, but then we found these companies are attending the networking or different events, or taking advantage of some of the other WCA benefits that they have. So it turned into an education, but it ended up as a membership. So it worked out really well.
Awesome. Thank you. So much value. It's worth being a member. And we also know that like success is never achieved alone. And we've had some discussions about what WCA has done. Partnerships is obviously a great way to reach new audiences and build each other's brands as well. So there's that win-win. Are you able to share with us how you've leveraged partnerships to help you grow your business?
Yeah, we've really benefited from connecting with other associations or other bodies related to ours. It's been a good journey in terms of being, like you said, it's a win-win. Other associations might not have a robust training program, so they're able to leverage ours, and we're able to connect with new possible attendees or even possible members. So we're filling our classrooms. Their folks are getting the information they're needing, and in some cases, the other association can offer us valuable courses and some really strong facilitators as well. So it really turned out to be a win-win. We're always looking for industry partners. Like Jason, you said, we're stronger together. So it's a win-win for both sides.
Thank you. Yeah, and aligned with your values, together we build Manitoba.
Yeah.
I remember speaking with you on an earlier occasion, and you mentioned that marketing, was pivotal to your success. And if I remember correctly, you said something to the effect of, it doesn't matter if you have an excellent course if no one knows about it. So what were some of the changes you made to get the word out there, about the excellent courses you deliver?
Yeah, that's the thing, right? If you have the best education program or the best product, if nobody knows about it, you're not going to be able to sell it. So we're really fortunate at the WCA. We have a really strong team. So specifically, I work closely with a graphic designer and a photographer, as well as a communications manager here. So they really help the education department look and sound good. So we don't really work hard and focus on building a brand and consistent messaging, clear messaging, and making everything as polished and professional as we possibly can. It it takes a lot of effort, but at the end, I think it's certainly worth having those polished pieces, so we can get the messaging out there.
Awesome, and some lovely images that you've provided us as well of those. And so we've kind of covered those parts, and we've looked at the last section really covers when scaling training programs, and some of the challenges in growing. There are always resource constraints. There's kind of administrative burdens that come with growth as well. So we're just going to talk to Peggy about how WCA overcame them with the right technical solution. And Peggy, as you think about WCA's journey and some of the challenges you have faced to get where you are today, like what were some of the things that didn't work so well for you?
Well, back in the day, when we first started, we didn't have a training management system. So it was a lot of manual processes, basically a lot of time in a spreadsheet. So we did have online registration, but that's pretty much where it ended in terms of automation in the early years. So, lots of time setting up courses, which like everything was from scratch. Everything was manual in terms of the communication. So the emails to attendees, the invoicing, everything was manual when we first started. And as we grew, those processes and those functions also grew. So we were spending, a lot of time on the admin side. And if you spent any time in a spreadsheet, you know how easy it is to, erase the wrong formula and then everything's blown, or you have multiple versions. So you're guessing on what is this the most current, especially when you're working with a number of people. So that led to a few, errors here and there, typos, that kind of thing. And you know what, that ultimately led to a poor user experience in some case, right? Like nobody wants to walk into a training room and see their name spelled incorrectly. It just kind of kicks the day off, and not in a great way. So a lot of time was spent, behind the scenes, and that meant there was less time for us to focus on the training side. So less time to find new courses, less time to work with the facilitators. And it just became to a point, if you look at that picture on the screen there, that's what my computer screen looked like. So if someone called in and asked to cancel a course or change the course date, oh, God forbid, because that would take like more admin time, right? So we needed a change. Something needed to help us be more efficient.
You know, you mentioned you started with spreadsheets, and we've often found as well with customers that spreadsheets do work well for a certain volume.
Yeah.
But yeah, once you scale, it can become quite challenging. And I suppose that would have been maybe what led you to say, okay, well, you know, spreadsheets have worked fine for us, fine, but now it's just unbearable. And we heard about some of those challenges that you faced with scaling. So you came to a point where you knew that you needed a solution. Like, how did you go about finding a system to meet your needs? Like, what were some of the key things you were looking for?
Right. So we looked at our pain points, and we tried to see what would address those. So the website that we were using, it was a little bit, it was clunky. So we really wanted to find a website that was easy for us to manage, also easy for our users to pop on and see what they're looking for. And once they found it, a clean way for them to register. Ideally, it'd be a single sign-on. That's what we were hoping for. I was spending a lot of time creating courses. So even if it was a repeat course, the old system, it would still take 10 to 15 minutes to update with a new date. So just everything had to be repeated. So something that was like a copy type approach to getting courses on quickly. And then really making sure that we could capture our users, so have a strong database to see what courses they've taken. Because when you have years of spreadsheets and someone asks, oh, what courses did I take? You're basically control F, control to find, to find their name and to find what courses they took. So it was really important to us that we had a really good system to see and track. And then the communication side, a lot of emails were going out manually. So how can we streamline that process, as well as how can we get an automated process for certificates? Because every course that someone attends has their certificate at the end. So those were all really important to us, and really important that they were, you know, clean and professional. And the reporting piece was really important for us to track and see how we were doing, you know, what courses were, how the attendance was. Also for the users to be able to capture their own individual transcripts. So that was important. And then we do have an association management system as well. So making sure we could integrate with that, as well integrate with our accounting and a few other pieces.
Awesome. Yeah, I remember those early days. You had quite a few stakeholders involved. I think you invited another construction association on the call, those initial calls before, right at the beginning, didn't you, Peggy?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you had your list of requirements, and so someone was asking about how long does it take and who do you need, what do you need on your side. But I thought that was you were super organized in the sense that you knew what you needed to achieve, you knew your pain points, and you invited other stakeholders from the business and just to take part in that conversation when looking for a TMS.
Mm-hmm.
And then just the impact of Arlo, and you know, the biggest wins, this is your quote, Peggy, you know, the biggest wins are the amount of time we save on administration. If we didn't have Arlo, we'd have to hire another administrator. And tell us a little bit more about the impact that this has had, you know, using Arlo, bringing it into the organization. What does that mean for you?
Well, we talked about the manual pieces that we did before. So the most obvious is the time saved, because there is so much automation and ease of use with Arlo. You know, we're able to save so much time on the admin side, which reduces the cost, right? If we did have to hire someone, there's an additional cost. And having, you know, having the automation and the technology that Arlo brings, it, you know, reduces human error. Totally. Arlo doesn't make mistakes. People do. So, like I talked about the spelling mistakes in people's names, that doesn't happen anymore. So it's a very clean, automated system. It allows us to provide so much better value and a much better experience for our members. And that's really the big win there, is the value that we bring to our members, so that we can, look for additional training courses, look at other facilitators. So it allows us to spend more time doing the training side versus the admin side.
Awesome. Well, thanks for taking us through that whole journey of from start to finish, and how you've evolved over, how WCA has grown and evolved over time. We're certainly very glad to have you as a customer, just because WCA has such a vision, has such a close connection with its members, has such a good understanding of what they require, and also just the work that you do as an organization, empowering others, helping them to be better versions of themselves, providing them that support and that help that they need to get ahead. So we've got a time now for questions and answers. So if anyone, maybe you've been listening and you've heard some of the things that have been discussed, and you've got a couple of questions, this is now the perfect opportunity to ask them. So we've got 11 minutes, so we can cover quite a bit in that time. Awesome, Lynn. So you got your, you can unmute, you can ask that, answer that question.
Hi, was just curious. We have often courses that are continuing education, like certified units. I'm not sure if y'all have that up there, but how would, if there's some type of authority that monitors or offers CEU monitoring, is that something that y'all have had to deal with by using, by offering training courses?
Yes, Lynn, that's a good question. So we do have the ability to keep those. You can assign CPD or CPU credits to a course. It could be in terms of credits or hours. And so when someone completes that gets added to the student record in Arlo. Is that more or less your question?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, so you can
Thank you.
track it as they complete it. It'll be added to their record.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah, we have a Gold Seal certified program that requires tracking of hours, as well as some of the project management designation as well. And we have the Gold Seal hours listed on the website, and it's tracked as well.
Great, thank you.
Awesome. Anyone else with a question? So we'll obviously be attending the CSAE conference on the 31st of October. We're really looking forward to it, and Peggy and I will be there too at the conference. If you do have any questions, maybe you've got questions and you'd like a more private forum to ask those questions, maybe you're actually looking at a solution or looking for a solution to help you scale, please feel free. Maybe Bianca, if you go to the next slide, there is a QR code there, and if you'd like a one-on-one session just to discuss maybe some questions and help us, if you need some answers from us, please feel free to book a time with me. We can go through them together, maybe understand your needs, understand what you're looking for, and then also just check if that aligns with what Arlo offers. So we're very open and transparent. We'll look at your needs. We'll tell you what the tool can do, what the system can do, and whether there's alignment there as well, because we want our customers to be successful. And as Peggy mentioned, that partnership is vital for growth. You know, you help each other. It's a win-win situation. If there aren't any more questions, again, please feel free to reach out directly and we'd be happy to answer those questions. If there aren't any other questions, maybe we'll leave it open for another 2 minutes, but if not, we will give you 5 minutes of your day back. Awesome. I'm just going to thank you so much, Peggy. It's been an absolute pleasure working with you up until now, and we look forward to working with you further again. But thanks for your time and your dedication, and for the awesome job WCA is doing as well, for its members and for Manitoba as a whole, really.
Well, thank you, Jason. It was my pleasure to be here.
Thanks so much.